Hi everyone, great to be here today. My name's Colin Bellman. I'm going to be delivering this this session today focused on spotting and acting on new opportunities. The general flow of the session today, or suppose a little bit more about me, is that my background is that I've scaled, grown technology-based businesses. In fact, one of those was Winning Moves, who I'm delivering this webinar on behalf of today. Grew Winning Moves and in 2013 exited the business, worked for the acquirers for a couple of years before fully exiting, but still work with Winning Moves for very much on a consultancy capacity at the moment. So looking forward very much to delivering this webinar today. The general flow will be covering, I suppose, delving into some of the overarching principles that cover this whole theme of spotting and acting on new opportunities. So we'll look at that. Hopefully we'll cover some areas that will provoke a bit of thought and get the creative juices flowing, as it were. But then we'll look at some practical tools and techniques that you can take back into your businesses to use, hopefully on a daily basis, to put you in a position where you can act on more, or spot and act on more opportunities. Got a relatively small group today, so if it's okay with you, I thought it would be worth us just taking the opportunity to get to know each other a bit better, because we've got a small group. I think we've probably got some time for some brief introductions. So what would be useful is if you could all just give me a quick introduction, just who you are, which business you're from, but also just what you're looking to get out of the webinar today would be really useful. I think I've got most people's names here, so I'll take you one by one. But there are some abbreviations. I will ask you for your full name. But can we start with yourself, Diane? If you unmute and just give us a bit of a flavour of who you are and which business.
Yep, sure. Thanks very much. My name is Diane Gordon-Freeman. I run a lingerie wholesale business. It's online. We sell B2B through e-commerce only. And what I'm hoping for today really is to keep a weather eye on what's going on with digital for the future, what plans I need to put in place, how consumers of the future are looking to interact online, particularly from a e-commerce perspective, and how I can support my resellers to start to work and think in terms of selling to the future consumer online.
Okay, that's really useful, Diane. And we'll just jump to sorry, I don't think this will be the real name, but Dee Summerbell, which is the abbreviation I've got here.
Yeah, it's Debs. I work for East Riding Advertising, which is the in-house advertising agency for East Riding of Yorkshire Council.
All right, fantastic. Welcome, Debs.
Thank you.
That's great. And Kevin?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly, Kevin.
Kevin Tilstone. I run a business called Baidu Dao Asia Link Limited. Okay, a lot to do with supply chains in the Far East and putting in environmentally friendly solutions to problems. I'm doing a sales and marketing plan currently, so I'm attending a lot of webinars to pick up new ideas.
Okay.
And any way that I could improve my own sales and marketing plan.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for that, Kevin. Again, it's useful for me, so hopefully we can deal with some of these kind of themes as we're moving through. And Lee, could you give us a bit of a flavour of where you're from and what you're looking for?
Colin, Lee's actually messaged saying she's in a large open plan office on mute, so she's unable to intro. So I've asked her if she wants to message me, then I can introduce her on her behalf. But at the moment, she's
not a problem at all, Lee. That's absolutely fine. But welcome all the same. And I think that's it. I think someone else just joined, but I think the fact that people introing themselves has probably scared them off, so they've just left. But thank you very much for that. That's really useful. I think one of the things we'll cover today is really looking at how we can be more effective at spotting and acting on new opportunities in general. So not necessarily just drilling down into that digital theme. But as we move through the webinar, we'll start to hone down on some of the real big digital trends in a bit more depth, and again just look at some specific things, towards the back end of the session around digital trends and really the opportunities that they're starting to present to businesses to hopefully do things a bit differently. So what I'm going to do first is just talk about some overarching themes, the overarching themes that can hopefully help us get our antennas up, so that we can be a bit more receptive to new opportunities. So sorry, bear with me. It does help if I can use the slides. So the first, sorry, excuse me, I'm being a bit clunky here. So the first thing is and again, I don't think there'll be any surprises here, but opportunities are everywhere. They present themselves all the time, and they are in an abundance. So, but because they're everywhere, because they're in an abundance, it can make it very difficult for us to really tune into them. So what we're really going to look at today is techniques and tools that will hopefully help us, really drill down and spot those opportunities that represent a good proposition to our future and our business's future. So those opportunities that can really move the dial and can really help us move forward. And another thing, and really when we're looking for new opportunities, quite often a good starting point is to look for problems. What problems are there out there? What problems are in existence that need a new solution or a better solution? So, and of course, at the moment, we're in a time of unprecedented change, and really, I suppose what that does create is a whole range of new problems that need new solutions. So what we're seeing at the moment are businesses developing solutions to the new problems that are being thrown up at the moment. So again, can we really start to drill into those, start to understand them and think about actually how do they what does that mean to my business and the opportunities that may be presented to it. And again, you've seen businesses, I'm sure you've done it yourself, who have really been pivoting and changing the way they do things in relation to the challenges that we're seeing at the moment, but particularly in relation to COVID. So new problems that require new solutions. Well, one of the problems with spotting the problem is that, and I love this quote, is that a fish can be the last to recognize water. So problems, they're presenting themselves every day, they're in an abundance, they're kind of passing us by, but quite often we're not spotting them, we're not making that connection. So again, what I would like to do today is just look at some ways that we can prime our minds so that we're much better at spotting those opportunities as and when they arrive. And one of the things that I often think about when we're looking, this whole concept of trying to spot opportunities is what I would term the new car syndrome. I'm sure you've all been in this situation that you need a new car, so you start to look at different models and different kind of types of car, different brands, etc. And quite often what happens is you suddenly start to, those models that you've maybe started to really focus down on, Ford Focus for argument's sake, is that suddenly you're probably driven around over the past year and you haven't really seen a lot of Ford Focuses, you haven't really spotted a load, but suddenly they're everywhere. And the reason for that is that you're now looking for them, you're now cutting through the noise of the thousands of different cars that are on the road, and your mind is now primed to look for the Ford Focus. So what we're going to try and do today is give you a framework that's going to help you do the same for your business. It's going to give you that focus, so your antennas up, and you're going to spot the opportunities that really represent a good bet for your business. I can think about personal situation where it's worked for me in business. So actually going back to to my time at Winning Moves and kind of being at the helm there. One of the diversifications we made, this is probably going back to 2009 kind of time, but we actually moved into the environmental consultancy market and developed a proposition called Winning Environment. What that meant was that we started to really focus our efforts into spotting opportunities within that market. And that really took us into a whole range of different markets, made us bid for opportunities that actually, without presenting that focus, we just wouldn't even have looked at, we wouldn't have comprehended, and we just wouldn't have gone for them in the past. Even though really the underlying skill capability of the organisation was the same, we wouldn't have entertained those opportunities, we wouldn't have gone for them. And we weren't looking for them. And based on that focus that we developed, we quite quickly, I think it was within about 6 months' time, we won around about £1 million worth of work within the environmental marketplace. So again, it's just that you know, that focus can really help, I suppose, see the wood for the trees, and give us and help us really connect with the opportunities that were passing us by every day. They've been passing us by for years and years, and we just hadn't made the connection that actually that was a market that we were in a really good position to move into, to exploit. So I suppose that moves on to the fact that, you know, an opportunity to do what? Opportunities need context. We need to present some sort of context around those. You know, why are we looking for opportunities? To what end are we looking for opportunities for? So is it to make more money at the moment? Is it about developing more resilience within our business models? Have we got a desire to expand it internationally, or be seen as an influencer? Whatever that may be, we need to have a reason to spot opportunities and to give those opportunities context. You know, they need context. So I suppose the starting point with any of this, and it was good to hear in the introductions that, you know, that it sounds like you have clear things that you're wanting to achieve in your business, but what's your vision, what's your goals? You know, are they understood by other people within your organisation, or maybe partners that you're working with? Because of course, we don't want to be, as leaders in business, we don't want to be the people having to spot all the opportunities. You know, we want other people to be really tuning into those opportunities. So we need to be in a position where we can explain to other people within our organisation what our goals are, what the vision is, and that actually we're actively looking for opportunities to exploit that and move it further. And that could be in a range of things. It could be actually increasing transactions through your website, better servicing customers through digital technology, delivering better customer experiences. Whatever that is, we need to be creating a context around opportunities, so other people can tune into that and help us spot the opportunities that are going to help us ultimately achieve our goals and then move closer towards our vision. One of the first barriers, however, we find quite often when working with companies, you know, really to look at new avenues for their businesses, that it's surprising the amount of people actually say, well, I'm not very good at spotting opportunities. You know, it's not my bag. And I know, you know, other entrepreneurs who are really, really good in that domain, but it's just not something that I personally find that easy. The key thing just to say to any of you who are maybe thinking that you're not good at spotting opportunities is that you're wrong. And if you do think that you're not good at spotting opportunities, you're wrong, because it's just about getting in the right state of mind. That's purely what it is. As I say, it's providing the context and making sure that the antenna's up to actually spot those opportunities. And there's some really simple tools and techniques that we can use to help us do that. So that was the first point, really, in I suppose covering what I would class as some of the overarching themes or things that we've got to contend with when trying to spot opportunities. But what I must say, I think or just as I suppose to simplify that, it's all about getting our minds in the right place, priming our minds, and making sure that we've actively got our antennas up, but not just us, you know, making sure that other people who we're working with in terms of our employees and partners have got their antennas up as well. So what I'm going to do now is just move on to hopefully a tool that you'll be able to use to get that antenna up and really provide the focus required to spot opportunities. So the tool is something called a promotion focus. So people, or the Harvard Business, or an article in Harvard Business Review, really comprehensive study back in 2013 identified that people who were good at spotting opportunities adopted a promotion focus. And just to explain what a promotion focus is, that it's really connecting with the right side of the brain, so the creative side of the brain, the idea generating side of the brain. But what was making them really good at spotting opportunities is that they were basically, their thought process and what they were really tuning into is, if I'm successful in what I do, what will I gain? You know, so they were almost really connecting with the prize. So if I'm successful, what am I going to gain from the endeavor and the time and the effort that I'm putting in? And just that focus, tuning into the right side of the brain, was putting them in a better position to spot the opportunities that would help them achieve the wins, I suppose, achieve the prizes that they were looking for. So they were just more proactive, more focused on the external environment and what's going on and how that could actually help them move forward and achieve the things that they wanted to achieve. So they had a real clear picture of what success looked like, and on a personal level, actually, what they would gain as a result. The people who were less good at spotting opportunities adopted what we would call a prevention focus. So that's the left side, the logical side of the brain. It's really really trying to avoid danger, you know, actually, which is a human instinct. You know, we'll go at much greater lengths to avoid pain and seek pleasure as humans. That's biologically how we're made up. So we'll be focused on avoiding danger, keeping things running smoothly. And as a result, they weren't thinking broadly, they weren't being externally focused and looking for opportunities to do that. It was quite internally focused and, you know, managing, I suppose, the known risks in terms of what they currently do. I suppose any new ideas or anything external that the company would maybe want to back or invest in would ultimately present a risk to the left side of the brain. So, you know, what if it didn't work? You know, what would that mean to our profit margin, our investment? You know, would it mean that we would lose staff? And all those sort of things would go through people's minds. So to tune in to the promotion focus, there's some really simple things that we can do as a starting point to put us in a position where we can spot opportunities in more detail. And again, don't think there's any rocket science here, but the first is to write down the goals that you have. So what do you want to achieve? Is it, and that could be at a business level, it could be a personal level, it could be actually I want to own an Aston Martin or have a big house in the countryside, or I want to have a comfortable requirement or really look after my family and loved ones. Whatever that is, it's what are those goals that are really important to you? Write them down, and if you don't know them, dig deep and really have a good think about what those goals are. And it probably goes beyond, you know, I want to achieve X amount of turnover by the end of the year. Try and connect with those goals on probably a bit more of an emotional terms. And a great way of doing that is when you've made that list of goals, for each goal, list what you will gain if you're successful. So for each one of the goals, what would you gain? So kind of casting your mind to the future, you know, what would you really gain? What would that represent to you if you hit that goal within your business, or it may equally be a personal goal? Again, to make sure that we're really tuning into those goals. So this is what we want to achieve. And it's amazing when you set a goal, things start happening, you know, things start happening to move you closer towards those goals. So in terms of the goals, what you know, just look at them every day. What are your goals, and actually what do you think you would gain by hitting them? And then a really good way of really connecting with these, or visualizing that is to picture yourself 5 years from now. What have you accomplished? Where are you now? Where are you living? You know, what are people saying about you in your business and the experience it's delivered? And actually, how does that make you feel as well? So again, just thinking about that can be a real positive, can give you a really compelling context or really powerful context in which to spot and tune into opportunities. And then the last thing is to, again, reflect on your past. This is about identifying things that really make you energized. You know, actually, what gave you the biggest buzz in business? You know, where do you just almost find a very natural energy when you're going about your business and undertaking tasks? So reflect on your past. Think about the big wins and all those things that have really energized and excited you. And again, write it down. Now, what we've done there is, if you can do all those things, is that you've created the context for spotting opportunities. So as I say, the opportunities need the context. There's got to be a reason why you're spotting, why you're trying to spot new opportunities. So it's about being really clear on that and being in a position where we can communicate that to people. Some of those reasons might be, really immediate. It may be actually that because of COVID, my demand's dropped off a cliff, and we need to figure out new ways of interacting and accessing new customers, and that becomes the context. But if you can tune everyone else into that as well, it means that all the pressure's not lying squarely on your shoulders. So again, we'll just move on, and then I'll just pause for any questions. So another thing that really helps us develop a context or give us an ability to spot more opportunities is to put the customer at the center. And I think, again, through the intros, that was one thing that really came across, that it's ultimately about the customer. And this is one thing that Jeff Bezos from Amazon has focused on really from the early days, is that he's created a culture where people are obsessive about delivering added value to customers, and that's led to what's a relatively new business becoming the biggest business in the world, and him ultimately being the richest man in the world as well. But you can see that focus led to the things like quite simple things like the introduction of Amazon Prime, which was really about delivering or ironing out bottlenecks in terms of delivery, and trying to tie customers into a brand that actually they weren't that loyal to at the time. That obsession with customers as well really flows through the whole customer journey. So what are the things when you're delivering an end-to-end journey with a customer that really add value? There'll be a whole range of things that really matter that you're doing at the moment, and there'll also be a whole range of things that actually don't matter that much to the customer. So part of the trick here is to map out that customer journey, connect with that customer journey, and to identify the things that you're doing that actually don't matter that much. Can we get rid of those? Other things that could be automated through the adoption of technology, and the time and money that's freed up from not having to do that, can we now focus that on the things and really putting a bit of gas under the flame of those things that really do matter? Can we really raise the level of those over and above what customers would expect, or certainly over and above what our competitors are delivering at the moment? So I think that's a key thing, becoming really obsessive about delivering value to customers and developing cultures that are always looking for the opportunity to deliver more and more value. Another thing, and a big constraint to spotting opportunities, is quite often the way companies define themselves. And again, I've done a lot of work in markets like the automotive sector, and quite often companies, they define themselves by what they make, so the product, services that they're delivering, but also the markets that they serve. So it could be working with an automotive supplier in the West Midlands, for instance, and they define themselves, I create widgets for Jaguar Land Rover. you know, in the Jaguar Land Rover supply chain, and I create widgets for them. You know, it's amazing the amount of companies, and if you ask them what they do, that's how they would describe that. Now, of course, that, from an opportunity perspective, that actually becomes a real constraint, because they are looking for opportunities in making widgets and delivering to Jaguar Land Rover. So they'll probably do a whole range of things that are delivering the 6% cost down kind of pressure that they've got to deliver for Jaguar Land Rover every year. But outside of that, they're probably not looking for a fat lot of opportunities. Now, if they were to reframe and think differently about the way that their business, it suddenly opens up a whole host of opportunity. And we do a lot of work around this, and it does have a dramatic impact. So, for instance, rather than thinking we deliver widgets for Jaguar Land Rover, you know, if they think about the things that in doing so, they are really, really good at, you know, those things that actually deliver exceptional value to Jaguar Land Rover, you know, that's one of the reasons that they're within the supply chain. If they connect with those things, then it suddenly unearths a whole range of competencies that, or services or capabilities that could be used elsewhere. So they could define themselves as, you know, we produce precise engineering for customers that demands high volume, right first. The widgets are delivered right first time and in a just-in-time delivery structure. So again, they're thinking about things totally differently, describing themselves differently. The core competencies, of course, that make that happen are that they can manufacture in high volumes. They're experts in design and tooling. They are experts in delivery and fulfillment and quality management. So they're suddenly, you know, listing down, these are the core competencies. These are the things that we're really, really good at. Now, a very simple exercise that they can now do through redefining themselves, not based on their sector or their market, but actually based on what they're good at, they can suddenly think, you know, actually, well, where else could those core competencies be used? Where could they be applied at the moment? And again, you know, through the downturn in automotive, we're seeing a lot of companies diversify into areas like the manufacture of PPE or ventilators, you know, really tuning into some of these new problems and deploying those core competencies into that space. And it's been those businesses who have a broad understanding of their capabilities that have acted on that first. They haven't been pushed there, you know, they've been kind of front of the queue and really acted on that. So actually, you know, really getting to grips with what you're good at. So regardless of what you do, what makes you good at doing that, and where else could those competencies be applied is a really a powerful tool that can help us to really tune into new opportunities. So we're gonna move on to trends and move on to technology trends that hopefully we can use to act on some of these new opportunities that we're spotting, and actually to spot to I suppose unlock opportunities to do things a bit differently. But I'll just pause there and just ask if we've got any questions at this stage. Any questions? If you've got a question, just feel free to unmute or pop it in the chat function. Okay. Right, so we'll move on with this next section. I say any questions as we're going along. I'm looking at the chat box, so feel free to pop them in there. Going to talk about some broad trends that are shaping things. We certainly need technology to capitalise on them, and then we'll move on to some specific digital opportunities or trends that hopefully we can use within our businesses, or help us spot opportunities to do things differently. The first thing I just want to focus on is that we're all movie stars. I'm sure that you've all been in conversations over the past the past four or 5 months where people have said, you know, this is a bit like living in a film. You know, you just would never have imagined that all these things would happen. And you know, I feel like I'm a bit of a movie star in all this. Well, everyone's in that boat at the moment, and I think that it's one of the things that will increase. You know, we're going to have more turbulence or kind of things imposed on us around COVID later today, and these are things, you know, that we're increasingly going to have to deal with, both on a social and environmental point of view. We've got increasing gloves, global pandemics, bushfires. You know, again, we've been seeing those across America and Australia. So I suppose the key question around that is how can people and businesses cope with future shocks? How can we build more resilience into our businesses? How can we turn all the problems that are created by these kind of social and environmental shocks that we're increasingly seeing? How can we turn those problems into opportunities and develop new ways of working? And of course, from a technology point of view, the companies who have been better positioned to deal with these risks as they have hit us are those who have already been operating on cloud-based systems, have been utilizing cloud-based infrastructure to run their business, run their supply chains. They've been the ones who have been able to react a lot quicker and have been able to continue trading and interacting with customers. Of course, it's not just about dealing with customers, managing internal systems, but also it presents new ways of connecting with new customers and trading online. All those things that actually don't require physical touch points have been really critical to businesses getting over the last 5 months, and that will increase certainly over the next 5 to 6 months as well. So that's something that isn't going away. So having a good digital infrastructure that you can deliver the vast majority of your customer journey through is absolutely paramount in today's environment. And another thing to mention, and this is linked to the previous point, a lot of this disruption is actually leading to the increased localization or trend to localized supply chains. So I mentioned Jaguar Land Rover earlier, your Nissans of this world, drug and pharmaceutical supply chains. There's a real focus on, as a country, as becoming a bit more self-sufficient. So can we produce more content locally or within a country to feed supply chains? Because of course, the OEMs or the people at the top of those supply chains are becoming more worried about potential global disruption and what that means to their ability to operate. So from a technology point of view, we're increasingly seeing things like connected supply chains, the increased adoption of Industry 4.0 technology in manufacture. We're seeing the increased use of connected ERP systems and the sharing of data and all these sort of things to kind of connect supply chains up. So again, that's a real kind of trend and a drive for increased connectivity, I suppose, across supply chains, but equally a real opportunity for companies to play into that trend to actually develop more supply locally, rather than supply coming from all over the world. So, and all the OEMs that they're now targeting themselves on this. So it's a real drive that's getting real impetus. And just another one really linked to COVID is, and again, there'll be no surprises here. Obviously, COVID has stimulated the shift towards home working. So we've now got more people than ever actually working from home. That's, I suppose, led to things like this, where I'm working at home delivering a webinar today, where previously we would have been in a room with sticky notes and flip charts on the wall and all those sort of things. So there's that whole thing, actually, how within your operating environment can you sustain or create efficiencies and productivity through enhanced home working and making sure that your staff are in a position to do that. And actually the technologies that enable that, so things like Microsoft Teams, have come it's incredible the kind of rate of change we're seeing within those tools over the past 3 or 4 months, and the utility you can get out of them now is absolutely incredible. You don't need different servers to hold your files on, or to communicate with, or to share or collaborate with. You can do all that from one place. So getting the best out of those tools is a real opportunity for businesses. But equally, the other thing that this move has created is, I suppose, a reshaping of the high street, and we'll come on to some of the digital trends around that a bit later. The reshaping of the high street, the way we use city centres and town centres. We're actually seeing almost a revival of neighbourhoods. So we're seeing, local neighbourhoods, actually the cafes, the restaurants, the kind of businesses in those areas are actually seeing I suppose, the upside on some of these trends at the moment. So again, from your business's point of view, what does that shift from, maybe a city centre or an urban centre based model to more of a neighbourhood based model? What opportunities does that represent to you? Now, just mention this one very, very quickly, because again, I think it's a trend where significant opportunities will result from. We're now in a situation where the world's population has started to reverse. It's started to go into decline. So we're starting to see the growth in population significantly reduced. What that basically means is that we're going to have we're going to have an aging population over the next, say, 80 years, that it will significantly age. So what are you doing at the moment to suppose play into that aging, that I suppose the older marketplace? Are the things that you can deliver that could really capitalise on the growth within that marketplace, and the problems that will result from that? There'll be problems, around things like pension, healthcare systems. The list goes on and on around that. But there'll be an increased market in terms of just the proportion of people who are of an older demographic, but also there'll be I suppose there'll be more problems that come with that. So again, how can you really tap into that market that's going to be building over the next certainly immediately, but it will continue over the next 80 years or so. Sorry, just getting a bit of a dry mouth there. Now we'll get onto the proper technology stuff. So one of the game changers that we are going to see pretty imminently is the introduction of 5G networks. So we're going to see I believe that this is going to spark a revolution, change on a whole number of fronts. We're going to see a real increase in the number of devices that are connected. So could be smartphones, printers. So I know with the printer I've got here, it's connected to the internet. It knows when my ink cartridges are running dry, and then it sends me some new ones, and I'm priced monthly based on that. So it almost enables a whole range of different business models, pay per use, pay as a service. In terms of going back to cities and towns and the way they work, the cities will be monitored, so we'll know how many people are using different shops, different car parks, which areas of the city are using energy at different points of time, and the grids will basically kind of focus energy based on usage and all those sort of things. We'll have smart buildings. We're already seeing a lot of technology in the domestic front from that point of view, in terms of connected thermostats and all those sort of things. And of course, in automotive, we'll see connected vehicles and autonomous vehicles, and that side of things will really accelerate. But I think that one of the things, that ability to constantly be connected to a super fast broadband, or have a reliable and constant connection to super fast broadband, is going to put you in a position where you can start to do things totally differently with your customer base. And I think that's a really exciting thing. So one thing, and we touched on this, is that in terms of smaller companies, a lot of the technology that has been used within bigger companies in terms of robotics and sensors and automated warehousing. That technology is, and really it will be amplified with the introduction of 5G. That technology is becoming more and more accessible. The price point's coming down. So there's now the opportunity to use that type of technology within smaller businesses. In fact, I live in a rural area, and our local pharmacist actually has a robot that does all the picking, so there's not a pharmacy assistant in there anymore getting all the different components for the different creams and prescriptions that he's putting together. Actually, there's a robot that's doing all that picking for him and kind of putting those different combinations together. So literally, a tiny little pharmacy using robotics within their operations, which is absolutely incredible. The other thing, and I think just based on the rates of digital adoption that we're seeing on the back of COVID, we're starting to see how that's impacting workforces, and a big driver of that's artificial intelligence and the automation of basic and simple and repetitive tasks. So, I'm sure you're all in shops, and it's only a matter of time where the cashier's gone. Postal workers will have automated deliveries. That's something that really isn't that far away with automated vehicles. If you think about the way, basic technologies that people have in their home now, it's all being built in a way that can actually automate the delivery, the way packages are delivered. So if you've got a video doorbell, quite often that's connected to the internet. You can connect that to a smart lock, so it'll know if a delivery driver's at your door, so you could actually open the door so they could put the parcel inside, or it could be connected to a cabinet that it would open. But again, it's based on your ability to see that person. Travel agents, referees, for football fans out there, I'm sure a contentious one, but VAR's already started to go in that direction. Drivers, assembly line workers, all these things that you can already start to see that are jobs that exist at the moment, but probably won't exist, or in the not so distant future. And some of those areas are where there's significant demand at the moment. So drivers, for instance, to deal with the increased trend around online shopping's been a key area of employment, but potentially one that in the not too distant future will unfortunately be reducing. But then, of course, there's the upside on that. So what in terms of, and again, this is all thinking about opportunities. So there's opportunities to automate repetitive and simple tasks within your businesses through the adoption of artificial intelligence. Again, a lot of people, when you talk about artificial intelligence, instantly think of robots and kind of robots taking over the world and kind of taking people's jobs. But it's actually, again, very, very accessible. You'll be using artificial intelligence almost every day in what you do. So it could be through chatbots or automation within your accounting software. It's all around us and becoming a lot more accessible. So if there are repetitive and simple things that you're doing within your business, it could be raising invoices or something like that. Chances are there'll be the capability within your existing technology to automate it. So again, there's real opportunities there from a process point of view. And then, of course, these new technologies are creating a whole range of new jobs. So the jobs will cease to exist, but there'll be a creation of a whole range of other jobs. So AI-assisted healthcare technician, we're already starting to see that. That's a big trend in the States where there's obviously a different healthcare system, but you've now got apps that you can have on your phone that have artificial intelligence built in that essentially manage your whole healthcare journey. And they release up to 20% capacity at the front line in terms of nurses and doctors, because some of the simpler, I suppose, tasks are being taken away from the the front line. Another one just to highlight here is 3D printed chef. So 3D printing is absolutely accelerating. You can now 3D print houses, you can 3D print cars, you can 3D print mobile phones. You know, that's an area that's significantly developing, but again, becoming really accessible to smaller companies. And in terms of just again, I thought this was an interesting stat, but based on artificial intelligence and recognizing that there's quite a lot of repetitive tasks in the legal trade, you know, they're anticipating, based on some research done by Deloitte, that 100,000 legal roles will be automated within the next 5 years, which is pretty incredible. Another thing that we're seeing, and there's been a real increase in this over the actually through the lockdown period, there's been a real increase in terms of the way brands are using things like body scanning. So, you know, and actually probably one of the areas where we're seeing the most uptake of that technology is probably in cosmetics. So now what you could do, you could go online and take a selfie online of your face, and it would be, and the body scanning technology would essentially look at your skin quality. It might be on the cheeks and the eyes, and I think Olay's a website where you can do this. And based on your skin quality, tones, requirements, it will suggest different makeups or creams that, you know, could obviously help based on the specific condition of your skin and all those sort of things. And we're seeing that technology being also used in things like artificial intelligence driven personal trainers. So now you can get apps, again, just for your smartphone, that monitor you, and essentially they'll tell you to do a press up, but it'll know if you're doing it right or wrong. And based on the way you're doing that, it'll present, you know, it'll give you advice on how you can do things better. So there's now AI-driven personal trainers, and obviously that connects to wearables and all those sort of things as well. So it knows how hard you're training and how effectively you're training. And I think you can also you can also change I suppose the aggressiveness, or, you know, kind of how much effort that personal trainer is trying to get you to expend. Now, coming down to a basic customer experience point of view, one of the areas particularly that 5G is really going to boost is the use of augmented reality by businesses to enhance the customer experience. Now, again, I was actually using it on the weekend. We bought a new sofa. We've ordered a new sofa. And one of the things we initially did, we went on the IKEA website, and you can download an app for IKEA now. And basically you can go through their catalogue, and you can actually position sofas in your room, and it gives you a real life picture of how that sofa will look within your room. And it's incredibly realistic. Another where we actually ended up buying the sofa from was just a little sofa from a website called Made. So again, this is becoming quite mainstream. So smaller companies, to keep up, are going to increasingly adopt these technologies. And as I say, because the bigger companies like IKEA have invested the R&D and kind of nailed this, you know, they've actually developed these technologies. There's now applications that are being off-the-shelf applications that smaller companies can use to actually use within their business. So I'd say Made was the business we ended up buying the sofa from. But again, you could position the sofa in different points in your room, which is pretty incredible. In terms of augmented reality and its use within retail environments, this picture's a concept store from Japan, and basically through your smartphone now, you can hold it up and basically get a virtual overlay over reality, one of the best examples actually of augmented reality was Pokemon Go. So I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there was kids kind of with their heads to the ground with looking into their smartphones, but it's because they were getting a virtual overlay which had Pokemon having fights on fields and things like that. So you know, it's exactly the same technology. But now what you can do, you can go through this particular store. It'll tell you where things are stored. It will give you information about the products. It will have recipe suggestions and all sorts of different things. We're now seeing town centres who are using this technology. So as you're working down the town centre, it will be telling you about the product, services, offers, so special offers that different stores have. It'll be telling you maybe at such and such a time in this restaurant it'll be happy hour, or you know, all those sort of things, you know, through this virtual overlay. And the other thing is it's actually, you know, in parallel becoming a bit of a tourist guide as well. So as you you know, you maybe hold it up to a monument, and that monument will actually, you know, in some cases it will come alive and it will actually tell you the story of what was behind that. So again, we're starting to see that sort of thing used around the tourist experience a lot more. So it's incredible, and actually a really good example of that bringing things to life is using augmented reality to bring food and drink products to life. So I don't know if any of you have used this before, but on your smartphone you can download an app called Living Wine Labels, and basically there's different wine. So that's the app that you would use. That's the app that enables this to happen. So it's Living Wine Labels, and basically there's different brands of wine who use augmented reality to bring their wine labels to life. So this particular brand's 19 Crimes, an Australian wine, and on all their wine labels they actually have some of the early convicts who went to Australia. And what you do through the app, you basically hover it up against a wine label, and the character comes alive. That convict actually comes alive, and they tell their story. You know, what led them to ending up in Australia. So again, it's just a totally new way of bringing your products and services to life, you know, and delivering that different experience to your customers. So and again, a lot of these apps are being developed so you can actually use them off the shelf, you know, so they're becoming a lot more accessible. So there's some broad trends and some of the things in terms of opportunity that I think are going to be significant drivers over certainly the next few years. So of course what that'll do, and hopefully what this is doing, it's helping you think about new opportunities. So based on those priorities or the context that you're starting to think about for your business, or why you're looking for opportunities, what gains are you wanting those opportunities to deliver, hopefully you're starting to think about new ways of doing things, and new opportunities for your business. Hopefully we're starting to tune into those a bit better. But of course what happens is when you start to spot opportunities, you probably start to spot lots of them. So then the challenge is, which opportunities should you focus on? Which opportunities should you really focus on moving forward? So I'm just going to quickly, before we open up for questions, quickly show you a tool that can just help with that. Because of course we want to ultimately move with the opportunities that are going to deliver the biggest benefit at the lowest cost. So which opportunities are going to deliver that? Equally, we don't want to get spread too thinly. One of the issues, been a bit like this myself with entrepreneurs, is that we can be a bit like magpies. You know, there's shiny stuff over there, and we get a bit distracted and caught up with the shiny stuff over there, and we're led. You know, it kind of draws us in. But the result of that is that we can try and do too many things and just get spread too thinly. So I suppose what I'm saying here is that can we spot the few things that we could do really, really well and that would really move the dial for us as businesses. So, and equally, those tend to be the things that your customers care most about. So again, just going back to that that broad principle we talked about earlier. So a simple tool of that we can use to I suppose select the best opportunities. And there's always intuition involved in this, but just something that can help us think about that is there may be you've tasked your team to all go away and generate a list of ideas that could deliver the goals that and the gains that you've defined. So you get that group of people together and you start to brainstorm, get all those ideas out on the table. The trick then is actually how collectively are you going to spot on the ones that or I suppose identify the ones that you're going to move on, that you're going to put your time, effort, and energy into. So what we've basically got here is a really simple table that helps us score that. So on the left-hand side, we've got 4 areas: so resource, people, time, and skills. And they're essentially that's the cost. What are we going to have to put into this idea to make it happen? So basically, what we do on a score of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high. So in terms of resources, we're going to have to put significant resources into idea A, so that gets an 8. But actually, the skills required to 1 and the time, etc. So we're basically scoring it on a scale of 1 to 10 based on the costs that we think that idea is going to take. Of course, on the other side, so on the right-hand side, we're looking at the benefits. So what impact's it going to have on the achievement of the goals and the gains that we've set out? In terms of fit, does it fit with our strategy, or would it be taking us to a different area? Will it help us succeed? What's our chances of success, and what difference would it ultimately make? So again, you can change the exact parameters there, but the basis is scoring things based on cost and based on benefit. And then, of course, what we do, we plot them on a chart. So as with any consultancy tool, it tends to be the top right-hand box that we want to focus on. So what we've got here is low idea C is coming out best. So because it's the lowest cost and the higher benefit. So brainstorm the ideas, score the ideas, draft out the matrix, and then basically position the ideas against that matrix. And it's the ones in the top right-hand box, so the ones that are going to be the lowest cost and deliver the highest benefit, that we really want to focus on. Of course, what comes into that intuition, I've done this several times, and maybe there's been a real outliner in terms of an idea, but the intuition and that kind of sits behind it thinks actually it's maybe not the best thing for us, but it is a way of us of just starting to prioritize on those different ideas and to focus on what we should be focusing on. So I will pause for breath there. We'll have a quick drink of water and open up to questions. I think we've got one in the chat. So Kevin, question from you. In your opinion, is the threat from Chinese reverse engineering technology a real risk or a subject overplayed for political reasons? So my approach to that would be kind of, number one, probably not to think too heavily about the political reasons for it, but to think about how, as a business, can I stay one step ahead of the game? So how can I be thinking about the second bounce of the ball? So I'm currently doing X, Y, and Z in my business. I've got to continue doing that right well, but am I working on the next thing and trying to stay ahead of the game? I think that's something that we've got to really focus on as a country. We've got to really focus on maintaining our position as the innovators, that investment in science and technology and staying ahead of the game. it's always the case. You know, we do innovative things. We'll within our businesses, we try new things, and eventually our competitors catch up. So we've always got to be trying to stay one step ahead of the game. Kevin, does that answer your question? Sorry, a bit wishy-washy one there. Sorry, just one other thing to say is it's not always about thinking about, you know, other countries like the Chinese as a threat as well. You know, what are the opportunities of working with them? You know, there's some really good collaborations, particularly around Chinese investment coming into the R&D, and some really good collaborations, you know, that go beyond the low cost production that we've focused on for the past 15 years. So again, other opportunities to work together. It is, Kevin, an opinion-based question. I'm being a politician, and
my message before I got kicked off from my terrible internet, but Lee sent me a bit of background about what she's working on. And I think she had a question. Sorry, Lee, you might have to resend it to me because I've lost it because my internet connection was not very good. So my chat's just deleted all of its history. But I think she's got an idea she wants to put forward, but she's getting a little bit confused with trademarking it, I think, because it's not something that she thinks is trademarkable.
Right. Okay. I'll tell you one. I'm not the expert in that field myself, Lee. But if you contacted the patent office, so they have hubs around the country, based in libraries. I'm not sure if there is one in the Humber. I know there's certainly one in Newcastle in the Central Library there, but they're BIPC centres, so business and IP centres, and they tend to be located or co-located with libraries. But the patent office are always worth contacting. They have advisory staff working at the patent office who could help you there, and quite often through the business IP centres, they've got a network of people like solicitors surrounding them who would give you an initial consultation for free. So maybe that's something worth looking into. If you contact the Humber Growth Hub, they would know what's available within your area. Okay, we've got another message here. All right, yeah. Not familiar with that particular technology collaboration, Kevin. If there's anything, you know, we can assist with offline, then it'd be useful to understand more. Have we got? Are there any more questions? Because what was going to, obviously what we've covered there today, it's, you know, frameworks that hopefully help us be in a position to better spot opportunities, some things that hopefully highlight trends or provoke a bit of thought and start to get the creative juices flowing. Of course, there's a lot more to it, and really to spot opportunities for, you know, particularly, you know, where we specialize around technology adoption that help you achieve your goals better. But really what we'd have to do is get to know your businesses a bit better and to understand your exact operations, your exact goals, and all those sort of things. So essentially what we've got a team of business stroke technology experts who can come into your business and basically just look at the opportunities. So, and that could be a whole range of different perspectives. It could be looking at actually what technology have you got at the moment? Could you get more out of that in terms of you know, leaning out different processes? Could be mapping out the customer journey and figuring out ways of attracting new markets or increasing conversion rates, or getting goods and services to people quicker, or increasing retention rates. You know, it's essentially anything. We've got a team, a multidisciplinary team who could come in with you and almost develop that technology roadmap. You know, but to achieve your goals, what can we do in the short, medium, and longer term to really really help you move forward? I think just another thing that we always try and do, it's you know, similar to the idea scoring matrix we just spoken about, is that what can deliver you the biggest impact for the least investment, you know, in terms of time and money. So that's very much the perspective we come from. So what I'll do, but feel free for any more questions. I'll just put contact details up. So
I'm just going to launch the poll. Sorry, Colin.
Oh yeah, launch the poll. So always useful for us, any impacts, if there should be a poll just coming up on your screen at the moment. So if you could just take a couple of moments just to complete that and let us know what you thought of the webinar, that would be fantastic. But equally, any further questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, so if you could complete the poll, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you. That's one down, 2 to go. I think there may be a bit of a delay on this. And I'm now Googling Sino UK to get the background on that. Right, okay. So we go. So thank you everyone for filling in the poll. So again, thanks for your participation. It's been a real pleasure having the opportunity to deliver the webinar to you today. Must stress, any further engagement, you know, please contact the Digital Catalyst team, who are the team of technology specialists funded through the Humber LEP and Growth Hub. But equally, the Growth Hub are fantastic in Humber and always on hand to deal with any questions you may have. But thank you. So we'll say goodbye and thank you very much for your participation.